like the Butler. Everybody's going to Chatham, and we all know the first weekend is important because of the show. And I thought this morning, I said, we used to be able to go to the Jeffrey. Then there was another theater east of that, the Hamilton. Now, there is, when an assignment popped up, we would go there to see Dr. Zhivago or Romeo and Juliet. So that was your cultural theater. And I mean, it's funny that today is today, and then tomorrow's the Butler. We're going to have stars and Oprah and all that stuff. But it's still very cultural. You see? So I thought maybe we should try to read. I know it's a lot of money, but that's another problem to bring back. My daughters went to Mayfair Dance Academy on 79th and Dobson. Flying drove them out. So now they're on 87th and in Euclid in an old school building, which is beautiful. How many kids here can dance? See, that's the other part. I was a school teacher for years, still am, probably. And arts is definitely the side that rounds everybody out. Math, science, English is all related to art. It also identifies you. I can play the piano. I can play the tuba. I can draw. When all else fails, you can always pull that out of your pocketbook. I can do this. I can knit. I can crochet. I can do hair. So that's a part of art. And sometimes our kids never get a chance to do that. And the piano, Peggy said we used to have a place where they played piano. And violin, and everybody would come, and it sounded terrible, but still we paid everything. And they had to practice. But my kids grew up not necessarily musicians, but the beautiful part is that their kids take lessons.
Right.
So
Genetically we're not musical, but we still pay.
Right. So let me ask you this. There was a time when your arts and culture, it was here. It was here. This is where you were here.
Yeah, right.
Do you still think it's here? Do you, because you're doing things in Bronzeville, lots of things in Bronzeville. Do you still have that same pull in this area?
No, it doesn't exist. Because my kids know nothing about the Jeffrey Theater, so what you don't know won't hurt you, so they go other places. But I still kind of have a pain when I see the kids up and down the street, and And also when we first moved here, we used to have a block full of competition like we are. We could do that in Beverly all the time. Wow. So we tried it on our block. We all hated each other, but
they're neighbors. They live across from us.
Right. But we do that for a couple of years, so that bonded us together. And then we all voted for Harold Washington, and we all one other thing bonds everybody together. So the neighborhood is beautiful. East of Jeffrey is going to be just as beautiful as west of Jeffrey. So I see all that when I pass by because I have that memory and I have that experience. So when all these kids walk around and nothing to do and this and that and stand on the corner, you can just see the talent and trying to struggle to come out. South Shore is a beautiful school. It's a beautiful school. First Lady Obama went to Boucher over in Mars.
Really?
Yeah.
I've seen the pictures in there. I didn't realize that's why they're in
So everything we needed was right here in this neighborhood. So we just had to, make it come back. We can't do that because we've seen the end at the beginning. So we can do that. So that's where I really, I know it's going to take a lot of money, a lot of proposal writing, but I think I should do a lot of hard work. It's doable.
Can I just make another brief plug? Talking about movie theaters. We actually got
the Black Cinema House.
There's screenings all this weekend at one of our projects is called Black Cinema House over 69th in Dorchester, and it's pretty much almost every weekend there's free public screenings. Very small, intimate space, but tonight is actually outdoors since it's so nice out, and it's a bunch of short films about different jazz short films. Duke Ellington and a couple other ones. And we partner with different presenters. So, but basically, kind of taking this notion that there hasn't been a commercial movie theater here in a real long time, but we really want to have a place to go see movies. If we wanted to try and redevelop, one of those huge vacant lots on Stony Island into a movie theater, it probably would fail because we haven't really cultivated that audience. We haven't really cultivated, that notion of being able to go to see a movie in your own neighborhood. But like, if we start at the scale of 20 or 30 people in the living room, going to see a very nicely programmed, series,
Right.
a very nicely kind of presented thing, we can start to kind of build the argument that like, a movie theater would be really viable in this neighborhood.
And especially with the kids, everything is a movie on their phone.
Right.
So they see the art of movie making.
Right.
But yeah, all this weekend, tonight, tomorrow night, and Sunday evening, movies at Black Cinema House.
It's really nice, and it's really close, and it's really quaint.
It's down on South
Do I have to
Dorchester.
stand up?
There's a website that has listings.
It's really close to
And almost what Linda was saying, she plays into my thoughts about the Hamilton is one of the places that I live, even though I've been living in Woodlawn. And I've been in South Shore for maybe the last 20 years, ongoing, Woodlawn before that. But what I remember, my memories of South Shore, and my part is the vision of what I see it happening again, not gentrification, but renewal of happening. The Hamilton Inn, the Beacons store that was the Brooks Brothers of the South Side. I went to get my Brooks Brothers shirts and stuff to be able to walk to these places. And that is what frustrates, I think, my wife and I, that there have been some fits and starts in terms of restaurants, for instance, in Memphis, and establishments in Memphis that we could walk to. And we have to go to the north side for that. When I could, in my working days before I was retired on Bloody Friday, I would walk out of my house at 7 o'clock, be on the 7:10, 11 train, be walking in my office at 7:45. Now, what better situation can you get than that? Reading the paper on the train, relaxing, I have to fight folks on CTA. Come back home to a neighborhood. And from that, should I segue into the art, because for the past 3, 4, 5 years, I'm a member of Diaspora Rhythms, and we're an organization dedicated to promoting contemporary artists, not the dead artists, not the artists that I came to love, like my term as director of marketing for the DeSable Museum. I discovered Motley, Archibald Motley, and that blew my mind. But it became very apparent that I could not afford to buy. I could not purchase Motley, but Motley was an emerging artist at one time too. And Diaspora Rhythms, a group that I belong to, we have our fingers on the pulse of the contemporary arts. In fact, we have a major program, you've probably heard about it, it's going to be in Logan Center, that we're cooperating with the University of Chicago in Logan to put on going to be a fabulous month of the art and the artists that we have honored over the past 10 years. So I'm always looking, because I am representing and want to be the, how do I put it, I want to be the champion of contemporary artists, the emerging artists, the young master artists. I want to be the beacon, the North Star for collectors, so to show them where these artists, who are the Motleys and other folks of the future. Linda has collected some obviously great pieces over the years, and these are the master artists. But the artists are here, and we need to show, and I'm looking for places to show these artists. That's part of my interest.
So just once again, the point of what I'm saying, that there's some nuances. There's some. It's like we're all walking in similar directions, but we're not. Sometimes I feel like we're not communicating. And I think at the core of that are our business corridors, our spaces to congregate. I didn't talk to my neighbors before I moved to the neighborhood I'm in now because I didn't have a front porch. Now I have a front porch. I know my neighbors front and back. We need a front porch. We need places, and that's what Tanyana's working. We need a corridor where you can bump into the art collector, where you can have spaces to congregate, so we don't have to go and run in other spaces. And they're happening. And let me say this: there's some fun in walking up and down the street and meeting the people doing business, the long-time business people doing. Do you know that from Jeffrey to Stony Island, there are 50, is it 50, it's around 50 businesses? 50 businesses. From Jeffrey to Yates, there's another 50 or 75. It's a lot of people out here doing commerce and doing business in a lot of space. And there's some people doing they're really out here in the trenches trying, not just to make money, they're actually trying to benefit a community because they believe in this community. So I don't want to bash the people that are here. I just think we just got to give them some more support. And that's what we're working towards. And we got to make it so the people, all this revenue, all this intellect, we got to create a situation where we want to come, where we don't want to go to the Wicker Parks or Lincoln, whatever, or wherever, Beverly, wherever. We want to do it right here. And I think the arts is integral in making that visible. So one of my biggest fights, and Benjamin can attest to this, we'll talk in a minute, I walk in with that artwork and try to hang it in the store. And they're like, what? How does that benefit me? You're taking up my window space. Right. So one of it is like the education of the artist understands how that actually, over time, that mentality can actually drive business. We've seen it, a lot of us have seen it, a lot of us lived it, a lot of us have been a part of it on the art side of things. But when you're in their day-to-day rut, and you're in there frying burgers, and you ain't got time to be thinking like artsy, like either it's like, hey, thing, stop talking to me. Okay, fine, take my window, when you gonna take it out? Or no, that doesn't make any sense. That's not gonna help me in the bottom line. Just go and shuffle on, like go and get out of here. I'm being nice. But Benjamin, the art of doing it. He was able to finagle a lot of those kind of relationships, but also being someone who's been in business here for a long time. So you kind of that 360. Like you're the artist hanging the artwork in the window, you're the curator hanging, kind of negotiating it, and then you're the businessman with the window.
And I think that kind of gives me a little bit more of attention, that 1 or 2 minutes when you're talking to someone that hasn't talked to somebody in a year or two. And I get that from when I first moved to South Shore. First 6 months I was here, everything was closed because I was getting off work late at night. I was a chef at Spiaggia Private Dining at the time. And the first person that I met was an art gallery owner, Custom Frame, on Exchange. And this was in 1990.
Oscar?
No, Oscar came to Exchange in 95. And White House Picture and Framing was there. Me and Chuck became best friends. We hung out every day for 10 years. And I got to know a lot about the art community and revisit art again. And get to know a lot of business owners. At that time, Exchange, even though some of the storefronts looked kind of dilapidated, but every storefront was occupied. Right. I had never seen that in the black community because I came from Inglewood. And so I was really excited to meet a young artist, art gallery owner, and other businesses. There was a newspaper, there was a toy store, there was a hair salon, there was clothing boutiques, and this was all. And then you had the food exchange on the corner, which was the watering hole for the community, right? And I got to know Angelo and found that he was connected with the Treasure Island family, and which we did business with downtown. And so we kicked it off, and it inspired me to open my first business on Exchange in 1992. And everybody thought I had lost my mind because they said, well, you're going to put this good job and this good career to go spend all your money in a restaurant. And the place was a church at first. But then again comes the visualization, right? Because as an artist, sometimes you want to see things for the betterment, not only for yourself, but for other people, because I think I create to give away, create to keep for myself. And so this church, at that time, I called the landlord, and I said I want to be a restaurant, and he said, how are you going to do it? You already got a full-time job. I said, don't worry about it. And so I guess the idea got out, somebody bought it, made a restaurant, and then they called me 6 months later when I was working for Michael Jordan. I was at work, and they asked me, did I want to buy it? And it had just about everything I wanted in it, so I bought it. And I did that as my first business on Exchange, but all my friends were business owners too. And so that made me look at the community different by dealing with business owners. And then I had a passion not only for living in South Shore because I thought I had a ride because, I didn't have to drive to the lakefront. I lived on it. and so in walking through the community, I saw that there was things happening. And then Exchange died. And it just went south. And then the food exchange burned down. And then all the traffic died. And then it took a while. It took about how many years for exchange to come back, and then Philip opened the art gallery on 71st Street. And me and Philip, we became good friends, and I used to get prints from him and all this kind of stuff. We talked, and he moved. And I'm talking like 20 years in span, right? Go fast forward. And after he was gone for about 3 years, by this time I was a chef at China Grill, Buca de Beppo, then China Grill, Hard Rock Hotel. And I was saying, this community needs a restaurant because it's always had one. And so when my son was born, I said, okay, well, I would like to walk to work again. And I opened the restaurant, I opened the art gallery. And because I was a chef and nobody knew me as a visual artist, I invited all the artists that I knew and didn't know to actually sell artwork there. And so we opened with hosting about 13, 15 different artists. And we did that for about the first couple of years. And I got to know a lot about and catch back up with visual arts because being a chef, I was away from it. But I was also hanging out with Charles and Oscar Edmond at Baggett. And I would cater their parties and stuff like that. And that's how I kind of stayed in the mix.
You know, let me interrupt you.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I have you sing is because you represent the artist that is present. There's tons of artists moving into the neighborhood. Charles, you moved into the neighborhood, I moved into the neighborhood. You're building the neighborhood, but you've been here for a while. Yeah. Are the artists in the neighborhoods? Are they here?
They're here. They're here.
The ones that have been living here, they grew up here, like here, they've been making it in the community for years. Are they still here?
There are artists still here. I think a lot because there's not enough here. Again, people, like we've said previously, go other places and look in other places. It's really not necessary because we have not only a business corridor, but a historical neighborhood with beautiful architecture. And the neighborhood is built on pedestrian traffic and business. And we should, it's easy to take advantage of, especially if you live in a neighborhood or nearby, because you can walk to work. And when I wanted to move, and Tianda approached me, we had a conversation a year earlier, and she came by and she said, okay, this is what we want to do. Well, actually what made me stay was the art festival, because I'm selfish enough to want, no, for real, to want to do something for everyone else, including myself, because I want to do business. And I want to express myself as an artist, and I want other artists to make money too. And so this was a magnet for me to stay. And not only that, I knew a lot of people on the east side of Jeffrey, and so that part was easy. And then I said, okay, I'll just get to know the west side of Jeffrey. And because I like people and I like art, it was easy for me to walk up and down the street and meet everybody and get everybody to agree, and we have art and continue on. And so this is, again, one of the reasons why I'm here. It's for unselfish, selfish reasons.
So what I want to do now is open it up a little bit to you guys, and I'm going to start by talking about our friend Big Noe. Big Noe is an artist, one of the artists that I'm talking about, that has been in the community, grew up on my block, has been making art, tattoos, murals, you name it, he's done it. He also helped with the mural inside, if you recall me saying that. And one of the things
He
did the mural, right. Oh, you helped him. I'm sorry. Big Noe. Let me get it right. He'll kill me if I said that.
Right.
He's not here. He hurt himself actually doing that. He broke his arm in 2 places, fell off a ladder. So really, like, talk about suffering for your art. Like, so, but we were sitting down talking as he was doing it. And, he was a little, like, annoyed.
Right.
Just saying how, these conversations about bringing art to South Shore. And people coming in, new names, and da-da-da. And I've been here. I've been here making it. I've been here doing it. I've been here a long time. People know me. I feel a little slighted. So in the same sort of way, kind of building off of that, I said, that's really interesting. We should build on that and talk about that. In the same sort of way, how many of you live in the neighborhood? Right? Majority of us. How many of you actually frequent this neighborhood a lot, of the ones that don't live in the neighborhood? Right?
Oh, well.
So in some sort of way, you're in this room because in some sort of way you're engaged in this community in some sort of way. So I want to talk about Noid's quote-unquote paranoia. Right. I'm going to keep going with that one. And about the changes that are coming down the coast the changes that are happening on 79th Street, right? About living, I mean, are we concerned about ownership of those changes, or do we even think it's going to happen, or are we worried about the changing of the community? Is that an issue anyone ever thinks about, or is it like, I don't care, like, you know, flip-flop it?
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
I chased Noid for 3 years, just like I chased Ben Young.
Uh-huh.
And I said, Noid, give me something to give
Mm-hmm.
to my board and let them see your art. I
Right.
can't take your word for it, I've
Right.
never seen it.
Mhm.
And he said, go down to so-and-so. I'd say, no, bring me something. And not until we opened up this show this
Right.
time, put it on the internet, got Tristan,
Right.
put them all in the room together, did Noid say, you're not gonna let me do my mural? I said, no, I don't know what you do. I have no idea, I have no documents. No documents, no work.
Yeah.
And the next day,
Yeah.
he brought me his work that he's been doing for years. It's absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
And he can just draw anything from
Yeah,
anywhere.
it's pretty talented.
And he's extremely talented. I think our artists in the community had become apathetic. They had not reached out. It's like, I know what I do, you're just supposed to know what I do. That's not how it is. The generations have changed greatly. And if we're not showing what we do and selling what we do to other people, not dollar for dollar, but getting it introduced to it, there's no way anyone would know. And I think that that is.
So that, no, I
It's
agree
your
with that
fault.
on the art, but I want to flip it to the residents, right? So I know artists are like, we're flaky and we're narcissists
Yeah,
in
whatever,
nature.
we're
We like
narcissists.
making things for people to look at.
Whatever. We want you to look at us.
That's a whole other, that's something that's it's about me. But no, I want to flip flop it to talk, open up the conversation, because about 5 minutes, to talk about concerns, words. Are we concerned?
I just wanted to bring up the east versus west situation.
Yes.
The east side versus the west side of 71st Street. How, like, weird that seemed to me. How you can't go across the train tracks to find out who your neighbors really are. So as an art practice, as I was on my phone, I'm like, all these things you're saying, like, east versus west as an art practice. Garbage, picking up garbage as an art practice. Like, how can we make garbage cans an art practice? How can we make meeting your neighbors an art practice? How
Summer's
can we
an
make...
artist.
Yeah. If you didn't know.
You might not agree.
Right, no
Decide,
problem.
you know, go
But
ahead.
I'm just like, I'm thinking of all of the ways in which we can make these ideas that are coming out, like your idea, like when you were saying that you used to go in your neighborhood for the cultural situations. How come we can't have corner cultural situations? How come we can't start on the corner and then bring it inside? Because we have to make sure that these people feel like they're included. That was another thing I wanted to say, inclusion.
Inclusion is
So
important.
when you said, what I was taking from what you said about the artist feeling like, you should know what I did. I've been here for 10 years. You should already know there's a mural right there that's been there for 9 years. That one's been there for 10. That one's been there for 12. So I don't even know what you're talking about right now. You like, I need a photograph, honey, because I can't bring the Lord to your mural. So I can understand, right. But it's like all about inclusion. It's like, if you move into a neighborhood, you should know who's in your neighborhood, as well as if I move into your neighborhood, I should get to know all of you. So and it's like we feel like we're being marginalized a little bit because we've been here, but no one's paying attention. They just see the potential in the situation that's already been here. No one's paying attention to the thing that's already been here already. So I'm just kind of like, I'm kind of playing off of that.
I know, but because process has changed, I can't go to my commissioners and say, on that wall on 76th Street.
Right, no,
put our
I
names on that
totally
wall."
agree.
They want to be able to see a piece of paper that says,
Totally agree.
here it
Totally
is.
agree. Yeah.
And that's process. In
Right.
the past, it used to be, hey, you know him, and they'd say, oh yeah, I know my cousin over there, he knows
Exactly.
him, and fine, we give him the contract.
How can we make
They don't work.
inclusion and inclusion meet? I don't know the word for what it is.
It's
Communication
networking
and inclusion
and
meet
communication.
in the
We
same
have-
situation, so we can
We have a disjuncted network.
exactly. So how can we meet them in the corner so that they can maybe integrate with time? That's what I'm
I'm gonna
saying.
let back there in the corner go, and then I'm gonna let you go next. Here's the blue shirt. Go ahead, Ava.
Yeah, I don't know how much the artist community I am, more of a designer in this sense. I
You're
don't
an
do
artist.
art. I'm more of a 2D person these days, but I've been working with clearly Fahim and a few other people here, And what I'm finding within the artist community, the designer community, we even have like a burgeoning like LGBT community here that's doing a lot, is that we're not communicating with each other because we're not actually going out of the house, right?
Right.
So, like when we started doing those exchange ideas meetings every Saturday, when you see people coming like, okay, wow, are you walking down the street? Like, Fahim and I worked together for a long time before I knew that he actually lived in the neighborhood. Because we're just not talking to each other. Everything's like internet. You know, even when I sat down with Dory to put his portfolio together, it was like, dude, like WTF, what did you call this stuff before there was the internet? Like, what did you do with this stuff? And it's because we don't go outside, and so many artists and other people, even within the community, it's like this self-hate, like, oh, I don't like, you know, my community ain't this, the businesses ain't doing that, the chamber ain't doing this, whatever, and so we just opt out. So instead of doing a little, and going to talk to the neighbor and picking up trash or doing a little outside of the house, it's, oh, we can't do everything, so forget it. You know, and I think that instead of being that way, if you just, like, we started sort of making like the backyard thing, like, okay, I try my best to go to Sarah's to get coffee. I try my best to go to Modern Shoes to get most of my summer clothes. You know, it's actually you have to actually make that effort. It doesn't just come out of nowhere. You know, art isn't going to do it by itself. You have to actually be there. And that's another conversation that, you know, I've had with other artists as well as people. And there's like this whole income bracket thing that we're doing. It's just bizarre. So, I mean, it's just for everybody, I think, even for whether it's the chamber or anybody else, getting door to door and saying, okay, what's your name? Oh, okay, that's your mama? Okay, cool. You know, that's
about people.
the way that works.
I'm gonna let her go right here. She got her hand up.
Well, I understand the concern about not being connected physically, but in this age of social media, we really should not be disconnected. I mean, it's so easy to do, and this is almost old-fashioned now, a Facebook group, and just connecting. I mean, if we could just get everybody on Twitter, I mean, there are other communities out there. They are doing wonderful things connecting that way, and I know, you know, there's probably some resistance there, but in this age, there's really no excuse for disconnect.
So then so the one thing that you said was the word community, right? Change. Community you can be in a community and never actually see anyone in this day and age, right? You have one line. But so my question is, when you're online, then your community becomes bigger. Your community may be in Australia and Russia. You may literally have this network based around one central idea. But let me ask you, if the central idea is the development of South Shore, and like the commerce, right, and using it, then when you open up, because, I mean, like my wife buys everything online. Like, I come home and there are boxes hidden in bushes and everything, you know, the postman just knows where to hide the boxes, you know what I mean? You know, so that being said, so then either what you're saying is we have to catch up and change how we're doing business, change how we're thinking about, like, our community locally, right? Or
but the thing is, with
like, how does that work?
technology, I mean, you set it up so it is South Shore, okay? So I have a neighbor, and she and I talk on Facebook. You know, I mean, it's like I don't even know her phone number. And she and I communicate on Facebook. Unfortunately, we just have that connection. If everybody in this room were just on one Facebook page, we could talk constantly. You know, I mean, it's coming up on my phone, you know, and it's just, I just hope we get there as a community.
But the issue is, once again, within our community, and we have multiple communities within our communities, and one of the things that has come up is not you throwing trash on the ground.
Right.
No one, it's like the people in the room, like it's always the people in the room, we ain't talking to people in the room, we're always talking to the people that ain't in the room. Right. So then the issue is, I mean, there is a community of people that is getting FaceTime, that actually are on the corners meeting, congregating, the way Linda talks about we used to. They congregate. People are meeting, sitting on, like, you know, but there's this big